Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of Machine Shop Mastery Podcast. I'm your host, Paul. And if you're watching on video, you see I'm in a different place. I'm actually in Florida for a couple of weeks, spending some time with my sister and her new 3-month-old baby, which is just delightful. Owen, my little new nephew. But I just spent the last hour talking with Shane Grant from Machining Momentum. His business is 10 years old. He is bringing an incredible amount of intentionality to building just the right kind of business that he really wants to build. And I admire that greatly. I told him that if he sees me writing something down, I'm writing down a timestamp of something insightful he said, and I got 5 pages of Post-it notes here. So it was a great conversation. He is just, I think, doing all the right things to grow this shop, and he's very authentic about how he does it. You should definitely follow him on at least LinkedIn. I haven't followed him on Instagram. I'll do that after the show. But he really is very authentic in the way he shares the triumphs and the struggles of running a small business, and it keeps it pretty real. So I know you're going to enjoy this one. I won't continue to blabber on about it, but let's go on and have this great conversation with Shane. Shane, welcome to the Machine Shop Mastery.
Thank you, sir. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you. As we were just saying, you and I have been connected on LinkedIn for a number of years now and have just sort of chatted behind the scenes and watching the growth and development of your shop. And I guess finally I convinced you to come on the show and share your journey, which, like many shop owners, is filled with ups and downs. And you've shared some of those online, which I really appreciate, how you kind of show up with real authenticity and just sort of the raw side of what it's like to own a shop. So yeah, excited to dig in a little bit more and have people learn more about you, Machining Momentum, your shop, and so let's dig into it. Why don't you give us a little bit of background about your time in the industry and how you decided to start a machine shop?
Well, it goes back a long ways now, and I think maybe the gray kind of gives a little bit of that away. But I started when I was 15 for a family-owned business. My stepdad had started a machine shop when I moved to Michigan, and I feel like it was just one of those kind of things where, he puts me in the car and says, all right, you're coming to work with me, and we're going to start, sweeping floors and just being in the shop. And so, for the first few years, it was just anything and everything, getting my hands dirty and kind of, just being available to support what he was trying to do. And I was just young, and so I really didn't know much about manufacturing. But after a little bit of time, I kind of started to develop a skill in it, running manual machines, running engine lathes, and just kind of going through that very raw, basic, introduction into manufacturing. And we were doing a lot of high volume work for the automotive industry. And so that repetition of doing something over and over and over again, I think in a lot of instances, people just can't kind of get to that mindset where they can process things and to be able to enjoy that. But I don't know, for me, it was a game, and it was something that I constantly challenged myself with. And it just kind of instilled in me that there is a lot more to this than just what was on that surface. And so those challenges just begin, to continue to push me deeper and deeper into what I could do in the industry. And so, unfortunately, after about 7 years, his business had made some decisions that led to the end. But I think that was probably the best thing for me because it gave me an opportunity to get out of that umbrella for working for a family and kind of going into a new industry where I could kind of see where my experience had led me. And so I got into some industrial work, and in that space, I started into, programming and using CAD CAM. And, I feel like I'm lucky because I started in the 90s when CNC was really kind of getting, into a new, era where the technology was getting stronger, and then CAD CAM kind of started getting introduced. And so I kind of went along with all these changes as the industry was changing. And I was young and curious. And so I kept kind of diving into those new things as the, technology was evolving. And so, I spent another 5 years in industrial. And then after that, I had moved my way into aerospace. And I felt like that was kind of the last leg that I needed to kind of go through it and experience to just feel like I had that well-rounded knowledge to be able to run my own job shop. And I mean, to be honest with you, I I don't know if it was always my goal. I don't know if it was always my dream, but I think once you continue to kind of hit that ceiling in different industries and different spaces, and you kind of realize that, you just have something different or something more. For me, it was like, okay, I want to create something special. I want to create a culture. I want to create an environment. I want to create a company that just kind of encapsulates everything that I am and everything that I think that manufacturing is, and what felt like there was voids in other places. And so it was really for me just like that culmination of just all those years coming together and saying, okay, I've got the confidence now and I've got the abilities to be able to take this on. And so 2015 came around and I filed my LLC and started this process. But it was 2, 3 years before that, I was laying the foundation. I was building the building. And so it's like I literally from the ground up, had to start from scratch. And so I think that was good for me to be able to go through that process and have to do everything in such a difficult way. Just because I felt like I needed to go through those struggles to be able to prepare for what it is to run your own machine shop, because it is a struggle. There is challenges that I face on a day-to-day basis. And I feel like if I'm not facing those challenges with, a certain amount of patience and calm and just resilience to, what's coming, that, it'll just kind of eat me up and spit me out. So I mean, we've since I've been in business, we've had floods, we've had fires, we've had power outages, we've lost employees. It's just been a number of battles that we've had to navigate. But I think that's, why we're here now, is because we've been able to, take each one of those, navigate them, and to be able to grow from each one individually. And just gives us the confidence that there's nothing that we can really, face that's going to stop us from moving forward. So here we are 10 years later, and I've just moved into my first industrial building. We spent about a year and a half doing renovations here. And so it feels really good to finally have that vision come to life, because it took some time for me to be able to really have the vision. And, the first 2 or 3 years, it was more or less just like I was stumbling through and kind of learning the whole process and becoming an entrepreneur and independent business owner. And so I had a lot of real growth happening in that time frame, because up until that point, you just, all the resources were available to me and all the, support people. And I didn't really have a clear understanding of all of the different, avenues and facets of just being able to make a machine shop function. And I just had a skill, and I think I had just I don't want to say arrogance, but maybe just I had the ability and the thought that I can make something happen. And so I went for it, and I'm really glad that I did. And I think anybody that, finally makes that leap wishes they would have started 5 or 10 years sooner, just because, you feel like you'd be that much farther along. But I think that, I'm on this journey and I've been on this path, and everything has happened in the time frame that's supposed to happen. And I'm getting more and more confident as time goes that, believing in myself and the vision that I have for this company continues to push me into the direction and to the place that I know will be great for me and the people that work for me.
Paul, tell me about your trip to Italy.
I went there with the NTMA, and we got to tour SMW Auto Block, 2 different facilities. Absolutely blew me away. World class, enormous places. I can't even count how many machines there were, but so much automation. One of the most incredible takeaways for me was the breadth of what they made. I did not know they made so many work holding products and automation products. And I loved watching a big chuck machine a little chuck. So they were machining chucks in huge lathes. I thought that was super fun.
Yeah, you introduced them to me after you came back, and they've been to my shop, and the ideas they have to like breathe new life into some of my machines and the tools and the jobs that we're running was just shocking.
And then one of the coolest things is we're bringing this new automated pallet delivery system, the Hennig workflow, to market. And guess what the interface is? It's SMW 0-point locators. It's really sweet.
We're getting ready to get some of those.
So how do people find SMW Autoblock to look through that massive catalog of products?
It's smwautoblock.com.
Yeah, get rid of that C. smwautoblock.com.
All right. That was fantastic. So 10 years ago now. Okay. And you sounded like you kind of had this idea of starting your own shop. You don't have like a definitive moment in time where you're like, I'm doing this, because maybe you didn't like your boss or something, but it sounded like it started to build to the point where you just knew that was something you will eventually do one day. Is that about right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that when I had the opportunity when I was in my early 20s, when my family business was about ready to go under, if I wanted to purchase it, I could have at that point, but I didn't feel like that was the right thing for me, and it wasn't the right time, and so I made the decision to let that pass and see if this industry, was really meant for me. And so I needed to go on that another 10, 15-year journey of working with other companies for other people and kind of just getting myself deeper into what the potential was in this in this industry. So after about 4 or 5 years in aerospace and kind of reaching that pinnacle of manufacturing and getting to some really complicated programming and machining and just that high level management kind of experience, I just knew that as I continued down that path, that there was something more, and I didn't really know what it was, and it didn't feel like it was going to another aerospace shop. I didn't feel like it was going to, work for somebody else. I just knew that if I wanted to reach and achieve some of the things that I wanted in my life, I felt like I needed to put that control in my own hands. And I've always been a big dreamer. I've always been someone that has had these visions for things and always chased it with, little regard for what that meant, other than I put in the work and we'll see where things go. And so it's been really fulfilling to put my head down and to believe in something and to see just the growth and the potential that comes from a vision and a dream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. From some of the posts that you've shared over the last few years, I definitely get the sense that you have a lot of internal drive and passion, and you're just going to push for it and just make it happen for yourself. And so that rings true. And it seems, I don't know. I'm glad you said that. I would love to back up for a minute and ask you about the family business, if you don't mind, and
Sure.
What were the decisions they made that ultimately led to that business closing?
From my understanding, I think that what happened was there was some advisors that had given him some direction that probably was ill-advised, and there were people that were in the finances that weren't managing things that they should have been. And I think ultimately what happened is we had 90% of our business locked up with one company, and they owed us an enormous amount of money, and they went bankrupt.
Yeah.
And when they went bankrupt, there goes all your cash flow. There just goes all of your all of your work and all your resources. So it was just I think a year and a half spiral from that point where we were trying to keep things alive. But when you put so much into one company and then something happens with them, then you're just kind of at the mercy of what has unfolded. And I think honestly, that was before real social media and marketing, and just to be able to network was so easy. It was a lot more complicated, and it was something where you needed to have somebody out there doing sales. And I think when you have a job that feels like it's forever, and you never have to worry about those things, then you kind of can get complacent and allow things to slip and slide. And so I know that was a really hard thing, that even now today, trying to talk to my stepdad about it, it's something that he struggles with, just how things unfolded, because it was, for him, it was his dream as well, and it was almost 10 years of his life that he put into developing and starting that company. And so I can feel that pain. And so for me, it's something that I'm always aware of, and being diversified and making sure that I have a solid balance, and and I have a solid stream of income, and I can support the people that are with me. And just some of the failures that he made were, for me, great learning points, so that way I didn't make those same mistakes. And so I'm thankful that I got to experience that, even though it was really hard for us to go through that process.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. Cautionary tale to people listening: don't get too wrapped up with one big customer or one or two big customers that just put you in that risk, even if it seems like they're just as solid as can be, right? Big company or whatever. And it's amazing how many big companies go out of business or decide to pull their work or who knows what.
Sure.
So yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow. I wanted to go back as well. You were talking about, I guess, the early years of learning the business side, right? You obviously had the technical skills as a machinist, but talk a little bit about what it what it required to learn how to run a business that did machining, right? A lot of people think that I'm a good machinist, I can run a shop, but it's a very different skill set. Can you just talk a little bit about some of the things you learned, maybe any stories, early on of not
Yeah.
knowing how, like, what did ARAP mean, or I don't even know what, right? But
Right.
like,
I mean, I think fortunate for me, I did have, just because I was with, three different industries, and I did work my way up to a high level within each one. So I had a pretty good understanding of, sales and marketing and manufacturing and scheduling, and, using different systems to be able to manage it. And so I felt like I had a really good understanding of it. But then when I started my business, I spent about a year working with the Small Business Administration, just helping to put together a business plan. And I think that helped me out a lot, just taking that time. And that was just a free source here in Michigan for us that really opened my eyes to just all of the calculations and all of the projections and all the different things that you have to kind of put in place, and understanding insurance and all of the things that you wouldn't necessarily think you need to have to function in a manufacturing space. And so that was a really good learning point for me to go through that process, and then to use that as a benchmark and a tool to be able to just gauge things as I continue to move forward and grow the business. But I feel like, even 10 years in business, I'm still learning, I'm still growing, I'm still trying to understand, because I feel like there's so many different things that I can do to improve. And I think, for me, trying to put people in place as my business continues to grow that fits the culture and the mold of what we're trying to create here has been my one big priority. But it's also a huge obstacle to be able to find those people that fit that space. So I'm trying to make sure I can let go of certain control in certain places, so that way we can see this place become what it's supposed to be. And so I think as a business owner, that's one thing that I'm starting to learn more and more, is that I obviously can't do this all myself. And I have to put trust in the people that I put in place, that they have the skills to be able to take us to that next level.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are really important lessons that some people learn earlier, some people never learn. Give us a snapshot of what your shop looks like today, just so people have a sense of it.
Sure.
Employees, machines, size, sort of.
Yeah. I mean, when I started it, I had a 30 by 50 pole building that I'd actually built in the side property of my house. And, when I was there, I really didn't know how to fill the space, but I like, well, I better start putting some equipment in here. So I went and I got a little small 2-axis lathe, put that on my shop floor. And then every year from there, I just continued to add a new machine. I got a small, 3-axis mill. Then I got a 4-axis mill, a bigger one. And then I went to 2 5-axis mills. And this year we just put in a brand new VF4 Super Speed and an ST25Y on the shop floor. So now we've got 6 CNC machines in the shop. We've got a CMM to be able to do our inspection. We've got all of the gauging equipment necessary to support all of the different parts that we're manufacturing. And I mean, honestly, I feel like we could probably add a couple more machines right now, but at the end of the day, I feel like we're just trying to make sure that we're utilizing the equipment that we have. But we went from a 1,500 square foot facility to a 5,000 square foot facility. And so it's really nice to not just have this new space, but to have space to grow into, and to be able to have it flow and function in a way that makes more sense for the growth of the company. So we were kind of, out in the middle of nowhere. We're in the country. We had that quiet environment that we all kind of enjoyed, but moving into the city, I think it just gave us a better visibility and connection to all of our vendors to be able to support a lot of the outsourcing and different things that we need to have done. So it just helps us stay better connected out here. And I think for us to bring people into this space, I think it just makes it feel like a real business in comparison to, when you're running out of a pole building in your backyard. So it's been a great change.
Very nice. And it's nice to have that pole building still in your house, or at your house. I know I wish I had a big building.
Yeah, actually, I'm trying to sell that right now, because I feel like that's just going to be a catch-all if I keep it. It's more space is more things, and I don't need more things. So that one's just going to probably be sold off, so that way we continue renovations here.
Got it. Okay, makes sense. I'd love for you to tell us a little. I like the way you speak about the vision of what you want to build. It seems like, some people, and I could be wrong about this, but some of them just say, I just want my own shop to like sort of own my own destiny, but maybe not with as much vision of exactly what they're trying to build as I'm hearing you talk about, right? Maybe it's the culture, it's the way the facility is set up, kind of just the vision, the long-term vision of it. Can you just share a little bit more of what you're trying to build?
Yeah, I think that continues to evolve as time goes. And the people that I have working for me, the guys have bought into that vision and to the belief that I am leading them to a place where, this is going to be something special for anybody that comes to work. This isn't just somewhere where you have a job. This isn't something where you just come in on, Monday through Friday and then you clock out and you're just dreading coming back in on Mondays. I mean, these guys, they live and die and breed, in this space. They want to be a part of what we're doing here. And I'm so thankful that they have bought into that idea that we can do something special in this space, and to give them that freedom and that ability to be creative and to have some control, and just to be recognized that, they may not have all of the skills that they need to reach, a certain height, but they know that I'm going to support whatever it is that they need to get there. And so I think that's part of the excitement that we have here, is that every year we're getting involved with new projects, with new customers. We're touching new industries, and we're getting new equipment to be able to just really challenge ourselves in the way that we process and manufacture. But not just that, but we're starting to create our own product and to be able to bring some of our own ideas to life.
Oh, cool.
And I think that's like that next step for us, is to be able to not just create products for other people, but be able to take our own ideas and create, this tangible product that we can say, man, all these years of experience, all these ideas, and just to be able to create this vision for something really special, and to be able to make it and to, manufacture and distribute that for other people to enjoy. We're definitely excited about that next step. And I don't quite have all the details to share with that just yet, but I think next year I'll be able to share a lot more on that and how that's going to integrate into how we're operating now. But yeah, tomorrow, things may take another turn, and we'll adjust to that. But I think that's what makes the vision so special here, is that we just know that the vision is taking us somewhere that we've never been before. The culture that we have is something that we've never experienced before. And just there's a trust and a brotherhood that we have here that makes us feel like, there's some security with what we're attempting, even though it may be difficult, even though it may be challenging, but just to know that we're all here supporting each other through the process. That's what makes it really special. So that way we just don't have that fear of failure, because failure is the process. I think that's where you gain a lot of growth. That's where you gain a lot of understanding. And I think that's where you really start to evolve as a person. And so my goal here is not just to create a strong company, but just to create a company full of leaders, and a company full of people that can reach their full potential. And hopefully I can be the one that guides them there, and feel really good about that when I step back and step away, and see the company continue to thrive and move forward.
Man, you just said a whole bunch of things that I want to ask about, different questions, but
Sure.
The one I'll stick with first is, what do you say? How do you show up to find these people and to inspire them in the vision that you've created for yourself and the company?
So I think saying's a lot easier now, but doing is really what creates that inspiration. I mean, I still come out here on the shop floor every day. I roll up my sleeves, and I'm right there side by side with them. So that way, if there's any problems, any questions, any concerns, they're not looking for support. It's right there. And I think that's what gives them the confidence and the trust that we're moving in that right direction. So, that's from my experience just working in other companies. That was one thing that always felt like it was missing, is that I had my management, my leadership team, they didn't know how to lead me. And so it was really important for me when I started my company to make sure that I had a really strong presence on the shop floor, and that I wasn't just telling them what to do, I was showing them what to do, and doing it, in a way that challenged them, but supported them at the same time, So it's been a lot for me through this last 10 years, is just working on my leadership abilities and working in my approach to people, because everybody needs a different approach and everybody responds differently to different ways of teaching and leadership. And so I'm hoping that over the next 5 to 10 years, I can continue to develop and evolve as a leader and as a man. And I hope that I can do that for the guys and maybe the women that come into this space as well. So it's something that I take a lot of pride in and I take very serious, because anybody that I bring in here, I believe they're just part of the family. And so I want to make sure I protect that and I protect them in this space, so that way they feel like they have security and a long-term place to call home.
That sounds like a special place. That's fantastic. How have you grown your leadership abilities over the years?
Well, I think that there's been a lot of personal development I've gone through in the last 3 to 5 years specifically. I think initially, I just threw effort at it, and it wasn't, a lot of growth that was happening. It was more or less pain that I was just going through, and I just got tired of dealing with all the pain, and I think that there was a time too where I had to start to learn about managing the stress and to be able to ground myself and to set boundaries and to be able to focus on the things that were important for me to become a good leader. And so prior to, starting my own company, I didn't read a lot. I wasn't listening to podcasts. I wasn't really, doing the growth that needed to happen for me to see the things that I was missing, or to be able to do some of the searching in the spaces that felt like there was some gaps. And so I'm on a physical, mental, and emotional journey, daily, weekly, monthly, trying to find things to strengthen that I feel are weaknesses, and making sure that I find a balance between all of it, because I feel like I have to maintain those three things very well to be able to lead a group of people in a very demanding industry. And so my strength has to be on all three fronts. And so it's a balance, but it's something that I'm taking the time to, meditate in the morning. I do yoga. I go to the gym. I'm reading. I'm writing. Anything that I can do just for my own self-care, I think, is giving me those tools to take on and to develop those skills that are needed as I continue to lead this company.
That is a piece I just wrote down. So that is awesome. I love it. Let's shift to maybe some of the practical parts. How did you find your first customers? How do you find customers today? Customers are what, enables growth. New revenue creates profit, creates, the ability to invest into the business. And for some shops, that's a hard thing because they're not naturally salespeople. What have you done to keep your spindles busy?
I think, when you are getting started, you have all these connections and people that tell you, especially I had been in the business already, almost 20 years. And so, everybody tell you, yeah, you start a company and we'll give you all this work and all these different things. But the reality hits in when you start your own company that those weren't necessarily realities and things that you could count on. And so it was a real struggle at first. I think that my first work that I got was my machine sale guy actually had a customer local that needed some turn work done, and he had given them my name. And so it was just a very simple spacer for an enduro, motocross handle. And I mean, I was so nervous just making that little handle after coming from a place where I was making satellite fins, but it was mine. It was my first job. It was my first experience doing something on my own. So that the reality of it hit really hard of, making mistakes and having all the things done right and the resources that I needed to support it and stuff. So, after that, and I finally got, through those first few jobs, and then from there, it was a lot of phone calls and a lot of emails and kind of going through that old school tradition of trying to just beat on doors. And I soon kind of realized that wasn't getting me where I needed to be. And so then I really kind of tipped, into social media. And once I got into social media, everything changed. I think initially it was, I was pitching what I was doing. I was kind of trying to be very specific with the company. But then once I started to kind of lay back a little bit and just share my story, that's where I started to get more work. That's where I started to create connections with people, because I think initially people need to have a personal connection with you so that way they feel like they can have a conversation, they have some kind of, similarity or something that they can, resonate with. And if I'm just sharing all this technical data all the time, I feel like it's very dry and there isn't anything to kind of bridge that initial gap. And so I can say one of the first projects that I did that really kind of opened my eyes to what social media could do is I had a company that had reached out to me after I had posted something online that said, hey, we're struggling with a vendor. We're looking for a resource. We're all the way out in Washington, and I'm not sure if it's a right fit or not, but this is the part that we're looking to make. Is it something you can help with? Without them even, giving me any more information, I made the part, flew out to their company and showed up on their doorstep with the part. And I said, this is what I can do. And they were absolutely blown away with the fact that I had gotten on a plane and came there with a finished product in hand. So that way I could prove to them that I could make what needed to be made. And so that was a 3-year, from that point, they gave me a 3-year contract that kind of gave me, that, ability to hire someone and to kind of keep a workflow and to kind of step off of machines so that way I could start to balance things out a little bit better as a business owner. Because the first 3 years I was pretty much just running machines day in and day out, 7 days a week, trying to just figure out how to keep that process going. And, then things started to click a little bit as I went along and started to realize how to leverage certain things. But yeah, now I use social media to get 90% of my business. I don't have a sales team. I don't have, a lot of word of mouth will still happen. And some of that word of mouth is coming from social media, which is really amazing. I have people that follow my story and have never done business with me, but believe in what I'm doing so much that they'll recommend me to other companies. And I just recently had a post where a guy that I don't know recommended me to another company, and I'm making these metal components for a company in Texas. And we've already done like $30,000 worth of work, so it was just something that just spawned from me sharing my story. And I think that if people can just be authentic in a social space, that's what resonates with people, because we're all people out here doing business. And I think that's what sometimes we forget.
Hey, Paul, next year's 2026. Guess what happens?
That means it's an even year, which means IMTS is happening.
I'm so excited. And I assume Pro Shop will be there exhibiting again, as always.
Yeah, it'll be our 5th time, I think.
Wow.
Would have been 6 if COVID hadn't happened. But yeah, even after being there that many years, there's a lot to understand about that show. It is a massive event, massive execution to exhibit.
Well, and a big investment, right? It's, gosh, your time, your money.
It is a big investment. Yeah, it's one of our biggest marketing investments for sure.
Well, I'm looking forward to in January, you and Nick and I are going to be at the IMTS Exhibitor Workshop, where exhibitors can come and learn like how to get their most out of IMTS.
Yeah, the workshop is fantastic. There's a bunch of different benefits from it. One, you can connect with all the vendors for your furniture, for your logistics, getting all your stuff in and out of the show, electrical, everything. But this year, they're also doing an executive session or series. So really focused on getting the most out of the conference. How are you going to go in with a marketing plan, really execute it, and get your maximum ROI if you're exhibiting at the show?
Well, it's a major commitment to go to the show. I go as an attendee, but seeing all the work that goes into it, if I was exhibiting, I would definitely want to maximize my experience there and get the most out of it. And the workshop I know is going to be interactive, where they really work through things. Like you said, you can place the orders, all that type of stuff. And, that's going to bring a bunch of value to exhibitors.
Yeah, absolutely. The difference between coming with a plan and executing on that, it's a big difference, as opposed to just showing up, throwing up your booth and hoping for the best. So yeah, it's definitely advisable. So exhibitors that want to make more of it, whether they're first time exhibitor or even if they've done it many times, but they really want to maximize their ROI this time, you should definitely show up at this thing. And what are the dates again?
Yeah, so it's January 27th through 29th at the McCormick Place. So you kind of get familiar with where your booth's going to be and all that type of stuff. To find out more, people should just go to amtonline.org/events and get signed up, and we'll see you there in January.
Sounds good, Mike. Wow, that is quite a story. I know of some shops that have said, they've had good success with social media, but I've not heard that 90% of your work is coming from those efforts. So that is really interesting. And just a point of clarification, the company in Washington, did they share a drawing online or just sort of a picture? And you made something that looked like that picture, or flesh that out a little bit.
What happened was they had said they were looking for a resource, and then once we had actually made a connection, they sent me in an email an actual blueprint. So I had an actual blueprint in hand, so that way I could make. So I was pretty much in the quoting process. So rather than quoting it, I just made it.
That is some go get 'em attitude. That is fantastic. Wow, that's a great share. Thank you for that. How are you finding your employees?
Yeah, that's a struggle. I've only got a couple employees that work for me now, and most of the people that I brought in to work for me, I've worked with in the past. But I've been very careful to just bring anybody in. I've hired a couple of people that have been through just a post on Indeed or a local Facebook post, or do some kind of local promotion to be able to to bring people in, whether it's on LinkedIn or even Instagram. But I just started contacting the local colleges, and I've got, I think, my first co-op student that will be coming in here in the next few months. So that'll be really exciting to get somebody that's young, that has the energy to come into this space, that wants to learn and grow. And it was actually, we had a trade show about a month ago locally, and the students come through on the Friday, and a student had come through with his resume, and we had a great conversation, and just things kind of developed from there. And I've done a lot with the local colleges to where they have supported a lot of what I've done. And so they really encouraged him to reach out to me, just knowing who I am and the kind of work that we do here, because I think the experience that he would get here would be completely different than he would get from somewhere else. And I think that for me is really important, because I want people, especially young kids, to get an experience in manufacturing that is different than what I think the perception is of manufacturing, because it is not this dark, dirty, dingy, rough space anymore. This is this very bright, unique, creative space that has a great energy and has all this opportunity and potential to become whatever you want it to be. So I think that's another part of my vision, is creating that, and to be able to share that with the next generation is a big part of that. So we're really looking forward to bringing somebody new into this space and seeing how that evolves.
That's fantastic. In what capacity are you involved with the technical colleges? Are you on their advisory boards, or just talk to their students, or what do you do?
There's a local program called the Shop Rat, and I'm on the Shop Rat board, and I'm helping them when they're trying to put together programs and facilitate different opportunities for the students that are coming up through middle school and into high school. I was working to get onto another board, so that way I could, be in more of not just the student, but into the local businesses and kind of how they're just marketing manufacturing to local industry and to students itself. And so I think that through those connections, those have been great for me. But then I'm also connected to a couple of other colleges outside of the local area where, I think when I went to Titans of CNC, I had met a lot of great people and developed some really close relationships there. And so not only as a business owner do I need to understand what I need to do to lead, but then I'm talking to these teachers on helping them to develop the skills that they need for their students to be able to come into the workforce. And so there's been a lot of great collaboration that's been happening there. So that way, they're working on not just educating, but training them on what it is to be into a real world facility, just by me sharing some of that information and giving them some opportunities there.
Okay. That's neat that you're involved in something that's at the middle school, high school level. I think, like, that's the age you got to start, sparking that creativity, that curiosity, or else they're going to just go in a different direction. So that's wonderful.
No, one of the things that we've done really well is when we have these trade shows, we'll always take something there to engage the students. And so we usually will take our laser engraver and just have something happening, at the site. So that way they can see firsthand what it is to create something. And so it's inspired a lot of, students to kind of at least question it and see what it is that, we're able to do. And I mean, I've had an opportunity working for other companies where there was shadowing, and the students would come through the facility and they would see, spending the day with us. And I can remember one student, it was years later, he came back to the company I was working for, and he had, I was the one that was interviewing for the job. And he asked me if I had remembered him. And I said, sorry, I've had so many students come through, I can't quite remember you. And he said, well, I just want to let you know that, 2 years ago, I came through and I spent the day with you with 3 other students. And he said, I'm here today because of that day. And it was because of the way that you talked about manufacturing. It was because of the way that you engaged in, just what this industry could be that gave me that inspiration to push through and to make this my career. And so that was a really special moment for me to know that, that one day just spending with a student gave him the inspiration to be able to take that as her career and to be able to put that, as something that they would use for the rest of their life and provide for their family. So I thought that was amazing.
That is so fantastic. Yeah. I have a tiny sense of how that feels. I was at an NTMA meeting probably about a month ago now, and we were having dinner with a group of us, and one of the guys that we were having dinner with, who had bought his shop less than a year before, earlier this year he had, and he and I had talked a few times, and he was actually, he'd since become a customer, but he said that he would not have bought his shop if it wasn't for this podcast. He said, he worked in aerospace, just in a bigger corporate setting. And he thought that owning a shop just seemed like, too challenging, too impossible, too difficult. And he's like hearing, whatever 70, 80 different, people on your show talk about starting shops, buying shops, and everything they've done. He's like, that gave me the confidence that I could do it myself. And he decided to buy, and he did buy a machine shop. And that was like one of the best days all year. I'm like, well, I hope it goes well for you. And it is, it's doing great for him. But, yeah, to have that kind of it could be his worst nightmare eventually. But no, I mean, we know how this is a hard business, but he's doing all the right stuff. He's really doing a great job. His name is David. I'm sure he'll probably listen to this, but it was a special moment. So I appreciate you sharing yours as well.
Oh, of course.
So let's talk about just the growth of the business. Have you been happy with your growth, your profitability? Sometimes people start a shop and it's like, oh my gosh, I just bought myself a job, right? How has that been for you over the years? Obviously, you continue to grow, your bigger facility, more machines, people, but are you been happy with it? Is it not, just share more about that.
I mean, for sure. I think that I really didn't know what potential it was for me when I first started, as far as financially and what the expectations should be for sales. I think that that's been a constant evolution as each year has gone, and it's been a challenge. But every year, other than 1 year, I mean, I've been in business 10 years, and we have grown every single year, if not by 20% to 50%. But this year, we're going to have our highest sales ever. We're going to double our highest sales that we've ever had. We had moved the company.
Wow.
So it's like, to have all those things happen in the same year is pretty phenomenal. And I see next year us, growing again and potentially doing another double in sales. And so I keep telling the guys, like, I just buckle up, guys. It's just gonna, we're on a wild ride here, and just hang on, because I feel like things are just moving. All this momentum, we've just been building it for so many years. And I think it's just because, a lot of days where I think I should have gone home, I didn't. I stayed in the shop, and I put in more hours, and I kept kind of just pushing through, and it's taken a toll on me. But I think that I knew that this would be the result if I can just get through those struggles and get through those hard days, and just to see, I knew what was on the other side of it. And not to say that I don't have days where I feel like the shop owns me, because I feel like it still does, but it's okay, because I'm okay with carrying that for however long I need to where I can get other people in place, and to have them buy into what it is that I'm creating. And then I'll step back when it's my time. But my time right now is still to be here and to keep doing what I'm doing. And I'm happy to toe that line. So I'm excited to think that, after all these years, we're finally going to break our $1 million mark. We're going to be able to achieve things that I never thought was possible. We're having, brand new equipment. We had our first 2 brand new machines put on the shop floor this year, so it's like every year just seems to continue to just not necessarily surprise me, but to encourage me that we're doing the right things and that we're making the right choices and we're making the right decisions. And, you just keep putting in the work and all of that reward will come back to you. But, you can't take your foot off the gas. And so that's where I'm at right now. I've just got my pedals to the metal and we are just, we're in it for wherever it takes us. So I'm hoping that, the next few years just opens up even more and more doors and opportunities for us to be able to really kind of reach our potential. And I think I'll always keep the shop relatively small. I don't want to be a 100-employee aerospace company. I think that makes me feel like I lose a little bit of the connection that I want to maintain. So we'll stay small, but we'll stay elite, and we'll be the guys that everybody else hopefully inspires to be.
Man, that's fantastic. I'm curious, you've mentioned a couple times now about someday stepping back. Does that mean when you sell the business, or does that mean when you have enough people in place and enough systems that you can just work on the business and they can, sort of run the daily operations, and you could, take a month vacation and the place would still be running just fine when you came back? Like, what does that look like to step back?
Yeah, I think that for me, I've put so many years and so many hours into this place to just think that I could sell it. I don't know if I'm in that space yet, but I definitely feel like I'm ready to put people in place to be able to step back and work on the business rather than in the business. I think that I have an ability and a skill to grow this business, and just because of my, my ties to having to be on the shop floor and all the different things that I'm trying to manage, I think that it's kind of restricting my ability to really dive into what it is to be a business owner. And so I would love to explore that space without feeling the restraint of daily operation, and to be able to see where I can take the company. So that is my 5-year vision, is that to have enough people in place to where I can actually work on the business rather than in the business. And then in 10 years to be able to step back and just watch, everything grow from there without me. I mean, I love to travel. I love to experience new things. And I think from those experiences, it gives me that, those bigger visions and those bigger dreams, to be able to bring that back and to, inspire others with, those same kind of stories. And, those are the kind of things that I want to continue to be able to do. So hopefully, the things will fall into place, and time will allow for all of that to happen.
That's thank you. That's a great answer. I love it. When you maybe just share, since you haven't done it yet, but I want to understand when you are ready to start bringing people in and sort of backfilling the work you do, the tactical work that you do. Do you have an idea of how that's going to happen? The process by which you'll make sure that you have the right person for that role, and they know what to do, and they know, what the metrics are, or whatever that looks like. Have you thought specifically about that yet?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have thought about it. I mean, I have my list of key people that I want to have in place, and things that I know that are going to put us into an arena that takes up a lot of the responsibility that I'm carrying. I mean, I carry a lot of small responsibilities. Just having somebody in shipping, receiving would be great. I just we do something. We
Sure.
we split things up so much here. But the more I talk to my guys about it, there's like, they don't want just anybody in here, and they want to make sure that somebody that comes in is ready to share those responsibilities. Because I don't think that, from all the years of working in other places, just to see somebody in a place where they feel like they're not putting in the effort to support what it takes to be a team. And I think that that's what we want to do here, is like we cross work on so many different things, where if I need help with shipping and receiving, the other guy picks it up. If I need help with quality control, another guy will pick it up so I can go and run a machine, or vice versa. I mean, sales, marketing, quoting, we all kind of do everything together. And so to bring somebody in here that not just wants to take on one role, but be able to multitask and take on multiple roles, just so that way there's a complete understanding of what it takes and what everybody's responsible for. Because I think that kind of gives somebody a good perspective of what somebody's up against on a day-to-day basis if they have to take on some of those challenges. And so I think the guys, they definitely, they're always telling me to go home, take the weekends off, get out of here in the evenings. They know how hard I work and the effort that I'm putting in this space, but at the same time, I switched them Monday through Thursday and gave them 3 days off because it's like, you know what, you guys you're working your tail off. I want you to spend more time with family. Let's shift some things a little bit around. So that way in this new space, not only you're working hard, but you get to play hard. And it took them a little while because it was funny. The first, 3 or 4 Fridays, they were just showing up and they're just like, we don't know what to do. we just want to, we don't know how to take the time off. We just want to be here with what it is that you're doing. And so that was a really, great feeling to know that they cared about this place so much that they came in here on their days off to just see what I was working on. So yeah, I think that anybody that I bring into this space to just know that it's not going to be just one job. It's going to be working with everybody and kind of finding ways to learn new skills outside of what your skill is. But I know that it's important that, people that come into this space, I want them to, I have a very specific skill that I'm really good at, and I want somebody that has a very specific skill and what they're good at, and I want them to do that. I want to be able to do what I can do, and I think that that's what will make us stronger, is where we all take our skills and we put them to work, but then we can also take some of our weaknesses or some of our shortcomings, and we can work together on making just a team effort and making us all stronger together.
I think you're thinking about that exactly the right way, and I have no doubt you're gonna get there. And that's very touching that you had your guys come in on Fridays just because they wanted to, support you, and just they're so invested clearly in what you're building. That's a real testament. What are one or two of the biggest challenges you're facing today?
Oh man, I feel like I'm facing a lot of challenges. I mean, honestly, what's crazy is trying to get. I think things are evolving so quickly right now to get people in place, to get equipment in place, to get technology in place. I mean, we'd love to get some automation in here so that way we can just be more efficient with the equipment that we're using. I think it's just trying to evolve fast enough. Moving into this space, I knew there was going to be a lot of changes, and I knew there was going to be a lot of things that were going to kind of come at us pretty strong, but I didn't expect this. It has been just nonstop since we moved here, and I'm so thankful for it. I'm thankful for the space and the opportunity, and I think that when we opened up the doors here, we knew that we were going to make ourselves more present, which was going to open up those doors. But now it's just trying to make sure that we can keep up with everything and maintain the level of quality that we have over the last 10 years. I think in 10 years, we've had 2 rejections, so I don't want that to change just because we're trying to do so much. And so I think that's one of the things that sets us apart, is that we make, precision components day in and day out, and we don't make mistakes doing it, at least for the customer. And so, trying to maintain that level of quality and precision is an obstacle when you start getting more and more customers seeing what you're capable of and what you're doing. So I think, having the cash and the strength in the business to be able to bring in the resources and the equipment to be able to support that is the major challenge right now.
Yeah. There's that saying that, if first of all, congratulations on making it for 10 years. That's way beyond what most small businesses, can do. But there's that saying that many small businesses don't die of starvation; they die of indigestion. Yeah. Right? When the growth comes too fast and they get beyond their cash flow, or things start to get out of control because they're not, investing in the systems or processes to maintain things. And so sounds like you're thinking about that the right way.
I'm definitely thinking about it as much as we can. I think I wish that I could snap my fingers and everything be in place tomorrow, but I know that it does take time and it takes effort. And it does make, I want to make some strategic moves so that way I'm not just investing in spaces that are an immediate need. I want to make sure they are still a long-term solution to something. So there's a balance there, and we're working on trying to find that for sure.
I wonder if you would tell us, you shared, fires and floods and crazy things that have happened, but what are some of the most memorable, either good or bad, experiences you've had in the last 10 years?
Oh, I mean, a lot of the good came from the bad. And, especially the flood, when we had that happen, that was something that I never even a million years thought that was something that I was going to have to worry about. But there was literally a perfect storm that kind of came through the area. And I can still remember that morning, just kind of walking into the facility and, just that, I don't know, just feeling helpless and not really even sure what to do. But my team shows up, they're staring at it with me, and they can see my face and they can see that I wasn't saying it, but they could see the fear in my eyes. But they said, you know what? Let's just get to work. Let's clean it up. Let's do what needs to be done. And so that moment right there was such a strengthening moment for me to know that I had a team of people surrounding me that will go through the hard times with me. Because I think that's really important, because there are days here that are really tough and we're facing some serious obstacles and challenges where we don't really have the answers and you have to figure them out. And when you're working in an industry where you have to constantly come up with solutions to problems, it can wear on you a little bit. So that was for me a moment where I felt like there was no problem that we were going to face that we couldn't come up with a solution for together. So when we had the fire at the new facility, I was actually in the process of purchasing this building and somebody lit it on fire, and we just laughed. We're like, no big deal. It was one of those things where, I said, it's no big deal. We'll adjust accordingly. And we made the moves that we needed to make. And so, it was, I think what had happened is that the previous owners, there was a tenant that they had to evict when they were selling the building, because they actually had living space above. And so when that happens, they got pretty upset about it and decided that they were going to try and burn the building down. And they didn't, thank goodness. But, they ended up putting some serious damage to the building. And I just looked at it. It was, okay, let's see what we got to do to clean this up. So we rolled up our sleeves and started tearing things out and stripped the things down to the studs, and we built it back up again. So, it's just another testament of just facing these challenges and knowing that there is, light on the other side. And I think you can make something. You can either be a victim or you can, find solutions to things. And we are not victims here. We are problem solvers, and we feel really good about our ability to do that.
Wild. Yeah, I'm working on a presentation for the Top Shops conference that's coming up next week, and my second slide after my first title slide is a picture of a shop with like a word cloud all over the screen, and it's like grit, perseverance, passion, commitment, like all the things that clearly you personify. So it feels like that's going to be a good slide, because
that's going to knock them out of the park.
You have it in spades. you can't be in this business without those qualities. So what would be your best advice to shops starting out in their journey, or younger shops that are just getting into this?
I get this question all the time, and I feel like I have the same answer. Don't wait for the right opportunity. Don't wait for the perfect moment. I think that if you're going to do something, you just got to go 100% all in right now, and don't wait for something to make you feel that safety, or to make you feel like, everything has come together. Now I can make that commitment. I think that's usually what stifles people. And, you got to feel a little bit of that worry or that pain. And I know the very first day that I was in business, I can still remember that knot in my stomach and those butterflies churning through. But then day 2, all of that went away, and it was time to get to work. But I had to make that major commitment to this space. And so I think anybody that's getting started just has to submit to running the business, and don't wait for that opportunity to come. You got to create it.
That's wonderful advice. Well, I've been after you for a while to do this. I'm really glad you said yes. I told you if I looked down and was writing down something insightful. Well, I got 5 pages of Post-it notes. So you delivered this on this episode.
Perfect.
I really appreciate it. You're clearly building something special there. And I appreciate you sharing it with the audience today. So if people want to learn more about machining momentum, where do they reach out?
I think that if everybody just goes to my website, machiningmomentum.com, all of my socials are on the top. So you can follow me there. I've got TikToks, and that's where the lighter side and the fun side's at. I got my Instagram, LinkedIn is where I've got my professional setting, where I'm doing all of the major, day-to-day kind of stuff and kind of showcasing the things that we're trying to accomplish. Yeah, you can go and find our website and then connect anywhere from there.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you again, Shane. This has been an absolute joy of the last hour, and I appreciate the way that you are building this, the intentionality you're bringing to it, the passion, obviously, and the grit, and hopefully, I know it's going to inspire some others as well. So, thanks again for being on the show today.
No problem. I appreciate it.
Manufacturers, what is your biggest headache? Is it measuring improving profitability, gaining efficiencies with AI and automation, maybe tightening up your cybersecurity, maybe getting your business ready to sell? At CLA, their goal is to know you and help you with challenges like these and more. Every day, CLA helps manufacturers tap into millions in revenue and cost savings, like one manufacturer that boosted capacity and revenues by 15 to 20%. Visit CLAconnect.com to hear real success stories and learn how you can grow your top and bottom line.